Now it's time for Viking Mail Call, a weekly show where you, the fans, get to ask the questions on your mind and have them answered by former Minnesota Vikings linebacker and coach, Pete Bursich. And now your host, Tom Moore.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Vikings Mail Call. I'm Tom Moore from VikeFans.com, and as always, I'm joined by former Minnesota Vikings linebacker and coach, and now Vikings Game Day radio color analyst, Pete Bursich. Pete, it's been a few weeks since our last show, and I know you've been caring for that critical manscaping you fell behind on during the season. But now I hear you're on a boat tonight. So where you're at, do we run the risk of hearing you fire up the Evinrude during the conversation tonight?
No chance, because I don't use an Evinrude. I'm all Mercury. So, and I'm old school. I got the old two-stroke Mercury, so you don't have to worry about that.
Good, I like it. Well, listen, I want to start out this week and ask you. We've actually got a fan, and we want to give a shout-out to a guy named Landon Reeves. He turns 13 today, but here's the problem, Pete. He's a Dallas Cowboys fan, and we have lots of marriages in Minnesota where, where one spouse is a Viking fan, another one's a Packer fan. So first I want to find out how you feel about Packer fans, but really what we want to give the fans an idea for is what's your best suggestion on how to turn a non-Minnesota fan like Landon into a Viking fanatic?
Well, I mean, the first thing you got to do is get the Sunday ticket and just pay attention to that and get as many Viking games as you can. Preferably subscribe at the same time to satellite radio so you can listen to my call along with PAs. Now, my dad was on the original Dallas Cowboy team, and I have been cured of that issue, of that wantedness to be a Dallas Cowboy fan. I mean, the Cowboys were great, with Tom Landry and Randy White and Ed Jones. I mean, that's when you should have been a fan. Not now when I got, just these punky wide receivers. And so it's not what it used to be. And, just step up to a team that's on the come. And now is a great time to jump on that bandwagon because when we do win, and we do win it all, then, he's been on since the beginning. And he could say that. So that's my advice to him.
All right, so here's the key, though. We asked the question. I know you're not a huge fan of the folks that follow the Packers. So how do we turn those folks around? And really, give me your true thoughts. What do you think about Packer fans?
Well, I think they're some of the most detestable human beings on the face of the planet. I really do. And I feel for them. The only professional team where you're actually going to have to sit on a bench to watch an NFL game. I mean, it's ludicrous in what they make those people do. And so I grew up in Chicago, but we didn't like the Packers. And now I'm in Minnesota, where we still don't like the Packers. And so I think, my Chicago Bear roots and now being such a, big Viking guy, that's the one thing that stays consistent is my hatred for the Packers. We in Minnesota, we deal with these people that grow up in the sticks and they're Packer fans, and then they go to college and get a big degree, and then they want to come, to Minnesota to get a real job.
Yeah.
And, just stay over the border, man. Don't pollute our state.
Well, I think you hit it right on the head because the guys that get degrees, they come over to Minnesota. The ones that don't stay in Green Bay.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. They just everybody just remember Tom Moore said that, not me.
Well, here's what I want to ask you. I'm going to go a little off topic because yesterday there was all this news about, Pete Rose, the legendary baseball player, is found out to have actually bet on baseball games while he was a player in the major leagues. And I was curious, as an NFL player when you were there, Pete, did somebody advise you against that? And kind of for the novice fan who doesn't really understand it, why do you want to make sure that players are not betting on their own games?
Well, it's funny because I talk about this all the time now, but if I were to sit in a locker room before a game and say, you know what, everything looks great, this team looks good, we are all fired up, I've seen us go out there and just get our asses kicked. And then there have been days that we've been in the locker room pregame and it was quiet, and no one was raising any cane, and we felt flat, and then we went out there and just destroyed somebody. Mm-hmm. So number one, even if I tried with insider information, we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where, you're a professional and it would be frowned upon, just like, guys who take performance enhancing drugs and, steroids and things like that cheat. It's just, the only thing that you have when it's all said and done and you walk away from the games is the respect of the teammates that you have and the people that you played against. And, if you go doing things like that, you lose that in a hurry. And so, I don't think betting on games in the NFL is much of an issue. unless you're a coordinator, it's pretty hard to affect the outcome. I think maybe a quarterback could do it, but other than that, it's just too many plays, too many people involved.
Yeah, but you do pay attention, obviously, to the odds in Vegas, because I'm curious, back when you played in that NFC Championship against the Giants, what was the over-under of you getting knocked out on a kickoff return?
Probably pretty good. I don't know if we were favored going into that game. But I remember, I remember going to bed at night, and I did the same thing in '98, thinking that, we win tomorrow, we're going to the Super Bowl. And it's an amazing feeling, and to know that there's going to be 2 games on tomorrow, the whole world is going to be watching, and we're going to be involved in one of them. You get a chance to play in one of them. I mean, what more could you want? But fortunately maybe for me, getting knocked out and not remembering most of the game, that helped. I mean, when Mike Tice asked me what was wrong with me, he was a position coach at the time. I said, well, 0-0 on the opening kickoff. And when I came out of it, it was 21-0. And he goes, oh shit, you were only out for about 10 minutes.
Well, it's funny. Yeah. You mentioned, championship games. I've always wanted to ask you, when you played in the '98 NFC Championship game against the Falcons, were you nervous? I mean, what changes for you in that big game? And if so, how do you get it under control?
I don't think guys are necessarily nervous. It's hard to describe. It's just a higher awareness. I mean, the game plan ramps up. Everything ramps up. You're just more tuned in, more intense. And it's not nervousness. It's just kind of anxiety. Because you get to a certain point where you're like, let's just get this thing over with. Let's play this game. I've played it in my head 1,000,000 times. Gone over every ounce of film 1,000,000 times. You start remembering, you watching film and you start remembering plays before they even happen. Mm-hmm. You need to get out there and you need to get that game played. And that's kind of where you are on these big games, Tom. It's just like you want to just get out there and get the game, get it over with. Let's play it. We've played it, like I said, 1,000,000 times in our heads and every other which way.
It's funny because I always wondered, it seems like you're so ready for the game to get it going. You've done so much anticipation. Seems like you'd have a hard time sleeping. Is that the case?
It can be. Fortunately, those games usually occur later in the afternoon. Mm-hmm. So even if it takes you a while to get to sleep, you can, sleep in a little bit. I've always been a late sleeper. Guys like Randall McDaniel and some of those other guys would get up at 6 o'clock in the morning no matter what. That's not me, and I just couldn't do it. So everybody's a little bit different that way. Guys they're known to take an Ambien or 2 to get the edge off so they can get to sleep. Yeah. But yeah, you got to get it. You definitely got to. You don't want to wake up tired on an NFC Championship game day.
Well, that's the whole goal, is to get to that NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl. And, we're about ready to start the 2015 season. That all season, it starts out really slow. And all of a sudden, it's here before you know it. And in Minnesota, Adrian Peterson's now back in the fold. And do you think, Pete, from him being out and away from the team for a while before he came to the OTAs, will he have any rust he needs to knock off? And more importantly, how long might it take for Viking fans to start to warm up again to him after he was looking to leave the team, potentially?
Well, the normal guy, I would say, yeah, there's some rust that needs to be knocked off. There's a lot of things that need to happen. Get a lot of carries in the preseason, but again, I quit saying what this guy can and can't do a long time ago. He's proven me wrong, many times before, and I'm just excited. I'm glad that the controversy and everything is behind him. By controversy, I just mean just everything to deal with this contract and everything going on with the team. And it's just good that the offensive coordinators and everybody and the coaches understand who they're going to have in the room, and the players do. And, having them back, they're going to be able to put a game plan together knowing that he's going to be back there. And the most exciting part is it's going to help the quarterback, Teddy Bridgewater. He's the one that's going to benefit the most from all that attention that's going to need to be paid to the running back.
Absolutely. Well, I don't think we're going to see a whole lot of 8 in the box with the combination of the passing game that we now have and the quarterback evolving and that running game. It's going to be hard for defenses this year.
It will, and that's the thing. And I think one of the lesser-noted points is if there's a position on this team that you should be fighting for and fighting over, it's the number 2 receiver, because you're going to have Adrian Peterson, and if Wallace produces what we think he can do and play the way we think he can, he's going to attract a lot of attention as well. And so what are you going to do? Put 8 in the box, cheat a middle safety over toward Wallace, and then what? The other receiver is going to be just man-on-man all over the place. And so whether it's Cordero Patterson or Charles Johnson or whomever, they are looking to benefit greatly from the offense and the personnel that's going to be on the field. Now, Wallace is going to have to burn some people. Adrian's going to have to burn some people. But if that all happens, then yeah, we're looking at a pretty solid offense. And whoever that number 2 receiver is, boy, I tell you, they're going to have some opportunities that they won't see anywhere else at any other time.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you pair that with a top 10 defense that only looks to be better on paper. So, fans have a lot to look forward to. And as we kind of close out this shortened version of Vikings Mail Call, we have some great guests lined up for the fan this year, including Vikings quarterback legend Fran Tarkenton. But other than wrestler Ric Flair, Pete, who's that one guest that you'd like to have on Vikings Mail Call? If you could have anybody you wanted, who would it be?
Oh, my God. I don't know. I mean, that's an amazing question. I haven't really... As much as I thought about the people that we've talked to and the people that we've interviewed, if I were to narrow it down to one, boy, I don't know. It really, honestly, I would like to get the head coach, interview him. I really would. I would like to get him or North Turner from a football standpoint, just because of their history and being so close to this team.
Yeah, with a little good measure, maybe we get an old head coach and we get Danny Green and Tony Dungy to come in too.
Yeah, that would be nice. I would love, I'm looking forward to maybe the opportunity of talking to Denny, just because I have so many questions, not necessarily about, things that happened, but as a coach, how he was able to put together a team with chemistry, a team that stuck together, and, he never missed on offensive players. He always could spot offensive talent, and, for sure, I would like to know if there was a secret formula, if it was the gut, if it was something that he saw. We defensively now, we made some mistakes in the draft and free agency. There's no question about that. But offensively, boy, we hit the nail on the head more times than not. Everybody from Randall Cunningham to Chris Carter. We took a bunch of guys that were, high draft picks, reject free agents, and young guys, and turned them into a pretty darn good offense.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And the good news is we've also contacted the PR folks at Winter Park, and we have asked for Mike Zimmer and Norv Turner, so hopefully we'll be able to announce that real soon to the fans. So
that would be nice.
Yeah, so again, that's all we have for our shortened version of Vikings Mail Call this week. And next week we'll have Vikings linebacker Gerald Hodges on the show. And we want to remind our listeners to follow Pete on Twitter at Pete Bursich to see what's happening before training camp and during the season. And don't forget to keep up to date on all things football on Pete's website, which can be found at PeteBFootball.com. So until next week, for Pete Bursich on the Lakes of Minnesota, I'm Tom Moore. So long, everyone.